Okay. Welcome back, everybody. Just know it's so hot and I can't breathe. So you know what? I've got my fan going and my aircon, and if you hear it, well, I'm not gonna apologize because something happened today. My upper lip started sweating, and I had a moment of, I've never experienced that in my life, and I'm from Texas. Is it age? Is it just the heat? Or is it something with my mustache that I didn't know that it did that? Anyway, I'm fine now. I am here to talk about what I read in July. Did one for what, May, and then didn't do another one. Well, I'm gonna do July, because actually I read more than I thought I was gonna read. It's surprising, but I think I read a few small things, so I think I just kind of got into it, you know? So I read 7 books this month. I only have 6 of them. 1 I've let a friend borrow. I've read 2 nonfiction, which is kind of, 3 nonfiction. Wow, that's actually, oh my God, I'm impressed with myself. I've never done that before. I read 2 translated books, 1 technically classic. I don't know if the other one I read is also a classic. Not really sure. Anyway, all right, let's start. Don't you guys love when I put my books like this and then it feels like you're in my shelf, do you know? All right, first things first, I read Things in Nature Merely Grow by Yiyun. Crazy start, by the way. This book being the first one I'm gonna talk about is actually kind of crazy. I started this before I went on vacation, finished it during my vacation. Also a crazy vacation read. Recommend the book, don't recommend it during vacation. This book is Yiyun's, I don't want to say it's a memoir, I guess a little bit of a memoir, but it is her sort of letter to her son James, who passed away when he was, I think it said 19 or 20, from suicide. And the other part of it is that her other son, Vincent, also passed away from suicide, which is like insane. Like I don't have children, obviously, but like in general, I can imagine losing two people, anyone in your life that way, let alone your children. But yeah, it's her letter to him and kind of her digestion of where do you go from here and how do you deal with this. This is a very difficult book to talk about because it is such a sensitive topic, but you know, separating the book from the contents, I suppose. The book itself is beautifully written. She's obviously a very talented writer. I'm so curious about her fiction work. So as like a book itself, it's beautiful, and it definitely a book that it sticks right here, and then every sentence it just kind of grows and grows and grows. And it's like, even if the leaves fall off and go away, there's a part of it that sticks with you. And it's like, that's the best way I can explain it. Like, I still think about this book. It's really hard for me to recommend it to people because it's, how do you recommend something like this to a person? But at the same time, I recommend it to people in the way of, if you want to, you know, really, not experience, but feel what other people do have to go through in their lives. Like, it's a very good one. Yeah, I hate saying this. It's like so hard to be like, it was amazing. You know, obviously I don't mean it was amazing because of the content. I'm trying to get better about the way that I say things like that, but it was a very just touching story and very intimate. I mean, there were so many parts of this book where I felt like I had put it down, not because it was inherently, obviously it is tragic, but it's not because of that. I just felt like it was so intimate. That's not my place to hear about that or read about that. And that was kind of the hardest part I had with it. And I mean, this book actually took me forever. I started this in June, which obviously was because of vacation, but it took me a long time because it was just something that you can't rush through, honestly, this kind of book. But yeah, there are no answers to something like this, or how do you deal with something like this. But I really, it's a weird thing to be like, I enjoyed it. You know what I mean? I liked it as an experience, I suppose, but obviously tragic, and it's a lot of my books. Honestly, most of my nonfiction this month are kind of the same way for me. It's very difficult to be like, I loved it or like even rating it. How do you rate a book like this? Like, that's ridiculous. But it's really hard to do that when the contents of them are so, difficult. Next is The Forest Called You by Amil. This is a Korean author. I've talked about Amil before. Oh gosh. Maybe I'll put the picture up. She has also written a collection of short stories called Roadkill, which I have always raved. I loved Roadkill. It was like my first kind of intro into short stories, and I really, really enjoyed it. This one I actually read for an interview with her, I did. And this is a full novel. This one, I liked it. It was a really interesting premise set in this dystopian future. Kind of 2 characters it goes back and forth to. One is a school student, the other one is an idol. and it's kind of this back and forth of she's one of the only like physical idols left, and the whole world is basically just VR system. And Amil actually wrote this book being inspired by COVID and how everything went to online, and like what would that world look like if we just kept doing that, right? So that premise was super interesting, and I really, really enjoyed that. And then there's also a bit of it that's like the two characters, not spoiler, but eventually kind of find each other, and like young love, new love, whatever. Interesting sort of plot. But then towards the end, I felt like it kind of lost the plot. Like the ending is quite sudden, and it didn't really wrap up well. You know, I'm sure there's some point to it or meaning or whatever, but I think when you're kind of writing a book that is meant to be dystopian, you don't have to have action. That's not like what I'm saying, because I love books that do that. I love books that are set very like sci-fi dystopian, but are very much like existentialism, and that's the focus of it. But at the same time, it was kind of like, okay, yeah, I don't know. So it's good, I think, an easy read. Again, I do love Amil, but if I could recommend one between like the two translated works she has, I would recommend Roadkill. I just think it's better overall, in my opinion. But anyway, that was that one. Oh, next I read, guys, I'm gonna pronounce this wrong, sorry. Got it. I read Recitatif by Toni Morrison. I got the Brief Encounters version. A friend recommended it, Nathan, and I loved it. It was a really, I've never read Toni Morrison before. I know. Actually, I'm like committing. I've already got my TBR for August, so I'm kind of, but for September, 100%, I'm gonna start with The Bluest Eye. And I know, don't yell at me. Anywho, so yeah, it was my first Toni Morrison, and I loved it. It was short and sweet. I've talked about this so many times. I love Brief Encounters. I love Penguin Archives, like the short sort of novella-focused classics. I think it's such a great introduction to authors and classic authors without fully committing to their big works. So like you can try one, and then if you enjoy the author, obviously you'll probably enjoy their bigger works. Anyway, so I did that. I loved it. I thought it was super interesting, the foreword. Actually, so I read like half the foreword, and then or intro, and then I was kind of like, you know what, it was not like giving spoilers, it wasn't like that. It was just kind of like, okay, let me read the actual story and then go into that. Also, sometimes I get confused. I know the classics are old, so it doesn't matter, but if I read the intro first, I sometimes feel like it spoils the book for me, or it's more helpful for me after. I don't know if that's for everybody, or if that's the point of it. I'm not really sure. They put it in the beginning, so I just assume. Oh, I'll talk what the book is about. So it's about these two girls, young girls, Tyla and Roberta. One is black, one is white, and they meet in an orphanage, and it's kind of like follows them through their life. It's very short though, so it's into adulthood. They like meet by chance a few times, and it's kind of looking at that. The whole kind of thing of the story though is that Morrison like intentionally doesn't tell you whose race is whose, so, like who is white, who is black. I don't necessarily know that if it's her intention to like make you guess. I think the whole point of it is that you don't know, and that's the thing. Like, right, like our biases and our understanding, there's so many different parts within the story where Morrison kind of like names this one thing that you're like, oh yeah, she must be white because of that. But then there's this whole other thing where you're like, oh no, she can't be because of that. Like, it just is pointing out like our biases and race, and like how race is even ingrained in us without even realizing and without even knowing. So she kind of just uses the narrative to explore memory and class and racial bias and all these things. And like this one, I feel like I keep having a lot of thoughts about, and I keep wanting to like talk. I read another book a few months ago. I feel the same way, where I like want to discuss this with somebody that has not a better grasp on it, but definitely a more like in-depth interest in kind of this thing. 'Cause it's such an interesting premise, and it's such an interesting way that Morrison wrote it. It's a book that you could like dissect part by part, which the intro does actually, but I really liked it. It was really fun. I'm gonna try The Bluest Eye. Eyes. I'm gonna try. All right, next, for my book club this month, we read The 100 Years' War in Palestine by Rashid Khalidi. I always do this for our book club books because I'm the one that has to make the questions. I'm pretty in-depth about what it is we're reading and discussion topics, etc. I do find that with book club, the nice part is that because I'm the one having to research all these things, I like seem to understand better. If you're wanting to know the history, what led to the occupation in Gaza and how that happened, this is the book for you. There are some parts of it that are long, but I loved it. I was a history major in college, so like this kind of book I read all the time, so I do think that maybe for people that have never read something like this, it's a lot of dates, a lot of numbers, a lot of information, but I really liked it. I really enjoyed it. And then after, I've also read One Day Everyone Will Have Always Been Against This by Omar El Akkad. There are so many books about Gaza and about the occupation. These are just kind of the ones that popped up. And also I live in Korea, so it's just kind of like what I can get. This one is more a plea to kind of just wake the up and take a stand, and like basically talks about, you know, there's so many things that go on in the world. Actually, this book focuses on Gaza, but it also talks about other injustices in the world. But it's basically saying that, you know, people live through it, and then one day when it's no longer kind of to talk about it, people will be like, oh yeah, I actually didn't agree with that. And so it's just kind of this plea of wake up and stand up and look at what's happening in front of you. So this one was more like, okay, I was angry about the whole thing, but it's history, I'm learning about what happened. This one was more of, okay, yeah, it's meant to make you upset and it's meant to make you angry, and it's very, very raw. He doesn't really hold back. Actually, he does in a way. That's the crazy part, is he does hold back, but he could do a lot more. And it just really shows you this is what people are living through, and that you're compliant by not standing up and say something. I don't know, I mean, I could go on and on about this, but it's like the moral grappling of like, it's hard, right? Like we're all trying to live our normal lives, but when you look at it and think about it, you know, everyone's life is just as important. And even though I have things that I live through, that doesn't mean that I can't and shouldn't care about what other people will live through, and ignoring it means that I'm a part of it. I prefer this one because I just love knowing, like learning the whole history of it. But I think if you're looking for a book about Gaza in general, maybe this one. I'm sure there are better ones, I just mean between the two. I'm very, very glad I read both of these this month. I think it was very good for me. Next, I'm out of order. I think this was actually in between these two, but I read Madonna in a Fur Coat by Sabahattin Ali. Could have been right, don't know. I had never read this. I always see this on the internet, and I picked it up, and then I didn't read it, and then finally I did. And you know what? I liked it. Where's he from? Turkish man, sorry. It's a story of like a Turkish man falling in love. This is a book you could read multiple times, I think, and really get something from it every single time. I definitely think this is a young person, maybe everyone in life should read it, but a young person kind of book. You know, it's about this man that seemingly has like a very boring life. He's unhappy in his marriage, unhappy in his life, and then on his deathbed, he gives a journal to a coworker. And then that is the story of him and this woman named Maria and their love story and falling in love. When you find the person that you're meant to be with, your life has meaning, and very transformative meaning, and tragic. It does not end happily. Sorry, spoilers, it does not. It's a very tragic love story, and I really liked it. The prose is very, very beautiful. It was a very beautiful read. There were so many like sentences in it that I was like, highlight, because they're just so beautifully written. Also, the translation is great. I obviously don't know what it might say any other way, but I think the translation's incredible. It's a very, how do you say, like deep take on love, and that it's not always perfect, and then it's not always beautiful, but when you feel that for that person, you know, and it's hard to explain that feeling. There's this part in the book where they have like twin flames kind of thing, but you know, I get it. Like when you meet that person, it's like your soul calls to their soul. Yeah, it's very beautiful. I really liked it. Very short, very sweet. Liked it. Soul calling. Maybe last this month. Greek lessons, Hanggang. I actually started this a while ago. I started in June, and this was one where I think before I went on vacation, I was like, oh, I want to read something else on vacation. Chose a sad book. So I finally finished. Incredible. I just can't believe I've been, every video I talk about this, I can't believe how late I've been to Hanggang. I'm sorry. She's so good. It's about two ordinary people and their lives being brought together. The man is a professor and he teaches ancient Greek. I read it in between. But he's slowly losing his sight. And then the woman is a student in his class. She doesn't speak. Mute might not be the correct term, but I'm pretty sure it is. But she doesn't speak, and it's kind of sort of back and forth and romantic love. I don't know, love is such a weird word to describe this, but it's like a love story, but it's like a a connection story, you know? I hate saying love story. That's how I feel about this one. It is a love story in a way, but it's more of like a thing, like your souls are just connecting a different way. Is that love? I don't know, but it's just kind of like how their stories intertwine, and like they have this profound sense of unity. Obviously the two of them are losing something, have lost something vital to them. It was just very beautiful, and it's like, you know, it's very Hanggang-y. It's written the way that she writes, and beautiful prose. She's very, you know, all of her books kind of have that feeling. You just feel like you're in a dream. Every story of hers I read, that's how I feel. It's like you're in a dream and you're just seeing this played out in front of your eyes. So descriptive. It's just, it's so, you gotta read it. She's crazy. I feel like she's my close personal friend. Hanggang. Anyway, that's all I got. That's what I read this month. I'm having a great time. I'm having a good summer. Well, I'm hot, but I'm having a good summer. I'm reading a lot of different things. Very proud of myself. You know, 2 years ago, I was only reading So you know what? We grow and we change. And now look at me, 3 nonfiction books in a month. Pff, crazy. Hey, next I'm gonna be reading poetry. Don't knock it till you try it. Anyway, I'm having a blast over on Instagram if you want to follow me. I just all the time and it's awesome. And I just post about the books that I read and talk about and see and etc. etc. If anyone wants to send me a book, please do. I live in Korea, which means that I can't get anything. So that's it. What are you reading? What are you liking? What are you not liking? Nonfiction? Yes, no. Memoirs? Yes, no. Translated work? Yes, no. Also, it is Women in Translation, which I guess I'll probably talk about this book next month, but I just want to put this in here real quick. I just finished this. This is going to be my #1 rec for Women Translation Month. Everything Happened at Once by Chol Jin-young, and it's translated by Soljae. Incredible. Please look it up. It's been out, but they did a revamp. Anywho, doesn't matter. Go read this. If you read anything this month by a Korean author, read this. Okay, I love y'all very so much. I'm gonna little one or big? I think a big one. It's been a while. Okay, hold on. I can't do it. I can't do it. That one was not good. Guys, I think it's because my upper lip was sweaty and now I can't, that's not good. Okay, that was a good one. Bye guys. Be careful, it's so hot.